Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of At the Coalface Live for today, the Friday, the 25th of March, 2022. We're going to cover off something a little bit different today, but first, you'll probably notice something slightly different this week, and that is that this episode, I did not stream directly live to LinkedIn. Why have I made this change? Well, last week I had a failed LinkedIn Live, meaning something happened with the LinkedIn API and it only recorded the first few seconds of the live, even though it was meant to be streaming to LinkedIn. So what happened was my weekly live streams are always multi-stream. So I always stream to LinkedIn, I stream to Facebook Live, and I also stream to YouTube Live. So because last week LinkedIn did not pick up my stream correctly, I actually had to delete that live stream post, which was only 13 seconds worth of the entire stream. And I deleted that and I re-uploaded the post. And then I embedded the YouTube link because YouTube was fine, Facebook was fine. So clearly it was just an issue with LinkedIn. And so what I did is I created a post as I would normally do through the live system, but instead I simply uploaded the URL into the post. I embedded it directly in the post. I didn't put it into the comments. So I put the YouTube link, the YouTube live link, into the post on LinkedIn. Now, what I found based on that approach, which was born out of necessity because LinkedIn simply did not pick up my live, so it was really an accidental finding more than anything else. What I found is that I got incredible amounts of engagement on that post with the embedded YouTube link versus the LinkedIn live post that is normally generated when you go live on LinkedIn. So what that tells me is LinkedIn is effectively penalizing live for some reason. They used to vig it a long time ago. So LinkedIn Live used to get massive engagement, massive views. And basically when they first released live, and it's still technically in beta because it's invite only. So you can request to have access to LinkedIn Live, which is what I did. And I had to request it about, 10 times before they finally gave me access to LinkedIn Live. But even though I've got access to LinkedIn Live, which is again still in beta, I still get almost no engagement. I still get low viewership, and it turns up in hardly anyone's feeds. And so clearly, LinkedIn has done something with Live to where they get hardly any engagement and hardly any viewership. So I think from now on, and I know this is not ideal for anyone, including myself. I'd love to continue to do LinkedIn live streams, but they just don't get visibility in the feed. Unfortunately, it feels like basically LinkedIn Live is the forgotten functionality of LinkedIn, and they've just let it languish, and it just doesn't seem to be getting any love. It doesn't seem to be coming out of beta anytime soon, and even those that have access to it like me just don't get any love. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is every week I'll have the multi-stream. I will stream live in real time. I'll continue to do that to Facebook Live and to YouTube Live. And then what I will do is after the session, so I'll still stream live from 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. New Zealand time every Friday. But if you want to watch me actually live, then you'll have to go to and subscribe to me on YouTube or subscribe to me on Facebook, and then you'll know when I'm going live. But if you go to my Facebook profile there, or if you go to my YouTube profile, then you will be able to subscribe to me there, and you'll be able to watch me live. Or you can watch my lives post live which is what I'm going to do from now on. I'm going to take the YouTube link. I'm going to put it into a new post on LinkedIn every single Friday, and I'm going to create a new post with a direct link to the YouTube broadcast in that post, because I'm just absolutely sick and tired of doing these lives, getting absolutely no love from LinkedIn on it. Not from you guys on LinkedIn, but from LinkedIn itself, the platform. It gets no love on live. Lives just go nowhere. They get no penetration. They get no visibility in the feed. And in fact, if I pre-record video and I upload that to LinkedIn as a post, that doesn't get fantastic engagement, doesn't get fantastic viewership, doesn't get fantastic priority in the feed, but it gets significantly more traction than LinkedIn live videos do. So for the time being, until LinkedIn makes a decision one way or the other, whether they're going to give some love to live or not, I am going to temporarily pause live streaming every Friday to LinkedIn, and I'm just going to continue to stream to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So I'm sorry for that. If you guys were sort of subscribed to my lives on LinkedIn and you're not getting those, I do apologize, but you've got to play the game. You got to play the algorithm game. Unfortunately, if you're going to put the effort in to make the content, you want it to be as visible as possible, and you want to have as much impact as possible. So that's the approach I'm going to take. So enough on that for today. The other thing I want to talk about, which is a little bit correlated to that whole live debacle, is the fact that I want to talk about communities, online communities. And obviously LinkedIn has their groups. You've got Facebook groups. You've got masterminds. You've got master classes. You've got all sorts of community platforms outside of social media. So you've got platforms like Mighty Networks and Circle and a few others. And then you've, of course, got the online learning courses. You've got the online learning LMS, LMS platforms, learning management system platforms. You've got online systems. You've got Udemy, and you've got Thinkific, and you've got other platforms for this. Then you, of course, have the online paid communities like Patreon and OnlyFans and all of the other, pay to play, pay to view, pay to be part of a community, generally centered on one single creator. So typically in those environments, like if you in Patreon and OnlyFans, etc., you interact with the creator only. The fans or the community doesn't interact with each other. They tend to only interact with the creator. So there's all sorts of different online communities out there across all sorts of different platforms, ranging pretty much from social media, dedicated online community platforms like Mighty Networks and others, and then creator platforms like Patreon and OnlyFans. Now, I have been very impressed with the way that some of these different networks have been built over the years. And if we look at two standout communities that are pretty well known in, at least in our space, when we think about e-commerce, when we think about digital, when we think about marketing, when we think about RevOps, when we think about, the space that I play in, which is primarily the e-com and digital space, there's really two substantial communities that are out there in the market and are very active and have grown very large in scale over the last couple of years. And I'll speak to the first one first. And that one is a community for specifically targeted at e-commerce called E-commerce Fuel. Now, they are targeted specifically at direct-to-consumer and B2C e-commerce store owners doing 7 and 8 figures worth of revenue through their stores. So you can go to their website, ecommercefuel.com. They've also got the associated e-commerce fuel podcast, which is free. The podcast is free to consume. However, to be part of their e-commerce fuel community, not only do you have to apply and prove that you are the owner or the manager of a 7 to 8 figure e-commerce online store, but you also have to, you not only have to prove that you run and manage the store, but you also have to prove the revenue of the store. You also, in addition to that, you have to pay $149 USD per month. And what they say about themselves, this is the membership requirements. These are the three membership requirements, and then 3 major benefits that they call out. They say the membership requirements are: you own a 7-figure plus e-commerce business, you are willing to contribute and share, you are not a vendor or beginner. So they really are vetting for that highest level of performance, highest level of community, making sure that you don't have beginners in there sort of, I guess, dragging down the quality of the community, making sure that the level of peers that are interacting with each other are at a similar level of experience, capability, I guess, and success. The 3 areas that they call out as a benefit of being part of E-commerce Fuel. Now, I've never joined E-commerce Fuel before because I don't run a 7 or 8 figure or own a 7 or 8 figure e-commerce online store. So I kind of have to go by what I've heard from members that are in there, combined with what they sell themselves as on their own website. So they say $149 a month, 30-day trial for just $1, vetted, active discussion forum, invites to member-only events, thousands of unbiased reviews, and they've got a 5x ROI guarantee. Don't know exactly what that means. They also say there's discounts on 100 plus SaaS apps. I'm guessing that's through referral codes, which of course they would benefit from as well. Obviously, if you sign up through E-commerce Fuel for a SaaS app, then you're probably following a referral link, which they would get benefit and credit for. And there's a network of 1,000 plus store owners, local and conference meetups. So they must have local chapters of E-commerce Fuel around the world with local moderators. And then presumably once you're actually in the forums, then you can break that down or filter by region and location is what my assumption is. Again, I'm not in this community, so I don't know. So, when we think about the fact that there's over 1,000 store owner members in the e-commerce fuel network at $149 a month, that's a fair chunk of revenue coming into the business. And I looked at LinkedIn, and there's only a few people associated with this particular business. I think there's a grand total of 3. I think they got 1 community manager and a couple of founders. So, if there's 3, 4, maybe 5 people max running this online business, then it's a tidy little money spinner. And what I notice about sort of how they build themselves, and if you dig a little bit deeper into the homepage of the e-commerce fuel website, clearly this is largely a peer-to-peer network of highly vetted, highly curated individuals in this peer-to-peer network. So it's almost like a mastermind, but a mastermind tends to be a bit smaller than 1,000 members. So this is like maybe a mega mastermind, and they charge $149 USD a month. Now, if we compare that with another reasonably famous online community, used to be called Revenue Collective. They are now called Pavilion. And so if you go to their homepage, basically they are pitching themselves not so much at e-commerce and not so much at digital, but they are really targeting themselves at people that play in the RevOps space. So sales, customer success, general ops, marketing, RevOps, finance. So we're talking about more the operational side of a business, not specifically an e-commerce or omni-channel business or even a retail business, but perhaps it's a B2B business that you run. Maybe you have a B2B SaaS business, something along those lines. And the way that they do their membership and the way that they do their fees is based on your experience and your role level. So basically, if you're more of a junior level, then it's $75 a month. And if you're more the director or the C-suite level, then it jumps up to basically $150 a month. And once again, that's in US dollars. And they build themselves. If you go to, it's called joinpavilion.com. So if you Google Revenue Collective and then you click on that link, it'll take you to joinpavilion.com. They build themselves as the doors to your success are open. Come on in. Pavilion is a private membership for high growth professionals, providing the support you need to get you where you want to go. Now, as I understand it, and again, I'm not a member of Pavilion and I wasn't a member of Revenue Collective previously either, but as I understand it, Revenue Collective, when they first started, they were invite only. So you couldn't even apply. You couldn't apply to join. There was no application form available on the website. They had a few seed members that they invited into the platform and into the group. And then those seed members sent personalized invites to their community and their personal networks. And that's how they got their sort of seed group into this particular community, this particular private roundtable group. And it says on their website, it says it's wild out there, but you don't have to go it alone. Career journeys in the high growth world can be tough to navigate on your own, to put it lightly. That's why we created a place where individuals and teams can come together to share knowledge, learn new skills, and find guidance to get through every professional twist and turn. Run by high growth leaders for high growth leaders. Pavilion is powered by an international community of members from the world's fastest growth companies. Together, we are a force for helping you unlock and achieve your professional potential. What you'll find inside: practical learning, genuine connection, a safe space, new opportunities, how we make it happen. Pavilion connects you with peers online and in person in an environment driven by generosity. And one of the members is Chris Walker of Refined Labs. And in fact, on the homepage, there is a comment from Megan Bowen, who's the COO of Refined Labs. It's awesome to have a safe space to ask questions, share from your experience, and be inspired to keep getting better every day. And as part of sort of the call out of the functions and features within the platform, they say they've got their Pavilion University, in-person convening power, career plus negotiation coaching, talent acquisition, job opportunities, tools, and information. So again, I'm guessing that there's probably affiliate links to things like, I don't know, Salesforce CRM, et cetera, within the platform. And it looks like there's a job board within there as well. So it's a pretty interesting community by the sounds of it. And I don't know how big they are because they don't put the numbers on their website. They don't even say 1,000 plus like e-commerce fuel does. So I don't know exactly how big their community is, but one thing I know for certain is that these communities are I think a really, really critical part, not so much from a making money perspective, although I have no doubt that they are self-sustaining businesses, and I have no doubt that e-commerce fuel is profitable, no doubt that Pavilion is profitable. But I suspect that when those groups were first created, that the vision really was to create a high level of peer-to-peer interaction that supported their community. Now, I'm also looking at starting a new community very shortly. I've got a couple of people that I'm talking to about this, people that I respect in our industry. There is a gap in our industry from my perspective that, I don't want to go into all the details yet until we decide whether we're actually going to go ahead and launch this thing or not. But we're very serious about it. We're talking very seriously about it. And I feel that there is a pretty big gap in our world in the digital e-commerce, omni-channel retail tech space that is not being met today by any online community that I can find. I can't find a community around this in social media. I cannot find a community around this in any creator platforms. I cannot find a community around this in any online LMSs, learning management systems. And I can't find a community around this even on LinkedIn. And realistically, based on my personal experience, those online groups like your Facebook groups, etc., those are oftentimes run as a membership perk of some other community. So you might have signed up for coaching with a coach or a mentor or something like that, and oftentimes they will say, hey, as being part of my my monthly coaching group or my mentoring group or my mastermind that you pay $1,000 a month for, you get access to our free Facebook group as long as you are a member of our paid community that you are paying us for. Then you get access to our free Facebook community. But obviously, if you stop paying for the overarching service, then you get kicked out of the community and you lose access to the Facebook group. And so, but what I've found, and I've run Facebook groups before, free Facebook groups before for things completely unrelated to business. And I really do not like the community management tools inside of a Facebook group because there basically are none. There's, you've got admin rights, and there's certain things you can do around, locking threads and kicking people out and banning people and preventing certain comments. And there's certain things you can do as an admin, but they really aren't what I would consider full suite community management and engagement tools. It's basically like a private Facebook page, for lack of a better term. And you run that Facebook page on behalf of a group and you grant access on a person by person basis. And they also obviously have to also have a Facebook profile, a Facebook account to be able to join those Facebook groups. And not everybody does, and not everybody wants to have a Facebook account. In fact, a lot of people are actually deactivating or deleting their Facebook accounts. And so uh, we're looking at ways in which we can seed this community with people that we feel are of ultra high caliber, because ultimately, whenever you start to build a community, what you're really doing is you're just facilitating that community. That's been my experience in all the successful communities that I've watched being built online. These communities, they are not built on the strength of one, two, or three community leaders that found a community and then everybody flocks to it because they're highly respected. Sure, they may seed that and they may facilitate the starting of that community, but every great community I've ever been a part of online, those communities are fantastic and they are great and they're amazing because of the peer-to-peer connections that are made within that community. They are not based on this hierarchy of leaders at the top that make a community great. No, the community itself is great because the community itself is great. And they're communicating with each other. They're sharing ideas. They're sharing advice. They're making connections that they then take offline, particularly if they happen to be local to someone else who's in part of that community. They take those communities offline. They go and they meet at a bar, or they go and they meet at a restaurant and they have dinner together, or they go to a bowling alley, or they go to a pool hall, or they go to something like that, and they start to build on their local community. Sure, that community may have started online, but they start taking subsets of that community offline, and that's when you start to understand the power of community. And we think that myself and the people that I'm looking to build this community with, as sort of that seed group of people to help build and kick this community off and facilitate this community, we are of the absolute firm belief that the future of the internet, the metaverse, everything to do with pretty much the internet, these communities are going to be strongest when they are not operating at the behest of a platform like a social media platform. We've all seen the dangers of building up your community on one social media platform and then all of a sudden them killing the organic reach. There was a lot of communities that were built in the early days of Facebook, and then when Facebook killed organic reach, then a lot of those communities sort of faded away into the wind and went to the diaspora of the earth. And so we've seen communities starting to be built similarly to how social media was building communities, but now we've got Telegram communities, and now we've got other communities on other messaging platforms. We've got WeChat communities, we've got WhatsApp communities, we've even got Facebook Messenger communities. So we're seeing communities spring up in kind of unexpected places and being built. Even Signal communities, which is similar to Telegram, but it's a private communication channel that can have a group associated with it where you can vet people and you can bring them in and allow them and you can kick them out as an administrator. So we're seeing all sorts of communities be built on all sorts of platforms, but we are of the absolute firm belief that operating at the behest of any social media platform is an incredible risk. And as grateful as I am for LinkedIn, love LinkedIn, love my LinkedIn community, for the foreseeable future, can't see myself ever stepping away from LinkedIn. Got over 24,000 followers on LinkedIn. Grateful for every single one of you. But, they're owned by Microsoft, and that fact is not lost on me. And from my perspective, it was always a risk to build a community in any, social media platform, but any social media platform owned by Microsoft, or any social media platform owned by Meta, or any social media platform that, say, for example, in the future might be owned by Apple or Google or any one of the big tech companies or Salesforce or anybody, those communities are always going to be at risk of either being shut down, censored, being put behind a walled garden, organic reach being killed off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I see massive risk. For me, I've kind of got all my eggs to a degree in the LinkedIn basket. Now, yes, I've got my podcast, which is growing, and I love all you that come and listen to my podcast. That's fantastic. But podcasts, unless you get lucky, podcasts are a slow burn. It takes a long time to develop a solid listenership, consistent listenership. It takes a long time. You have to build up that, and that's not really a peer-to-peer community that can communicate with each other. They can communicate with the creator, but that's about it. And so, I love my community. I love my, my premium newsletter list. I absolutely appreciate everyone that's on that. So I do have these pockets of communities off of LinkedIn, but by far the strongest community around me as a creator is on LinkedIn. And I see that as a massive, massive risk, not only to me, but also to the other creators that I'm close to on LinkedIn that I love and have a deep connection with. And we can support each other, and we can join each other's threads, and we can comment on each other's content, and we can support each other in that way. But, that can all be taken away at the blink of an eye if Microsoft decides that they want to monetize LinkedIn further and they want to effectively force you. For example, if they wanted to force you to be in LinkedIn Premium to even have your content be visible in the feed, maybe they reduce organic reach down to 1 or 2% or 3% or 5% instead of the sort of 80-90% that it is today. They could very easily do that. And I see TikTok going the same way. I think we got 12 to 18 months on TikTok before they can the vast majority of the organic reach, and then it's pay to play. And that's the well-trodden path that every single social media platform other than LinkedIn up till now has gone down. And even LinkedIn, last year, they started to make some changes to the amount of connection requests you could send in a day and in a week. They started to dramatically decrease organic reach on the platform. Noise has increased on the platform. Shitty polls are still getting vigged. So we're seeing a lot of polls still, which is decreasing the quality of content on the platform, in my opinion. So we're already seeing some negative changes that Microsoft has made to LinkedIn. And I would hate to see it, drop to 1, 2, 3% organic reach and us have no other place to go, particularly within our industry. And so we're looking at ways in which we can de-risk that, and that we can perhaps facilitate the building of a community outside of LinkedIn for our business and our industry. And so I'd love your feedback on this. I'd love your thinking on this. If you're part of a fantastic online community, I'd love your thoughts in the comments about what communities those are, what makes them fantastic, what they could do better, what platforms they're playing on, and do they play on more than one platform or just one? So thank you guys for listening today. It's been fantastic chatting with you today, and I look forward to catching up with you next Friday. Again, drop your thoughts on online communities based on your experience and what you would like to see being built online, and maybe even in terms of what you'd like to see the online community platforms building out in terms of functionality. What would you guys like to see in a community that you would love to be a part of? Chat to you guys soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.